All right, I'd like to call the continued public hearing of the Wheaton Park District Board of Commissioners on the budget to order. Mike, take the roll.
Commissioner Vanderschaff.
Here.
Commissioner Morrill.
Here.
Commissioner Mee.
Here.
Commissioner Hodgkinson.
Here.
President Kelly.
Here. Public comment. Donna, did anybody sign up for public comment? Is there anybody here to speak at the public hearing on the budget? Okay, then I need a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
Second.
Second.
Commissioner Vanderschaff.
Yes.
Commissioner Morrill.
Yes.
Commissioner Mee.
Yes.
Commissioner Hodgkinson.
Yes.
President Kelly.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, now I would like to call the November 19th meeting of the Wheaton Park District Board of Commissioners to order. Mike, please take the roll.
Commissioner Vanderschaff.
Here.
Commissioner Morrill.
Here.
Commissioner Mee.
Here.
Commissioner Hodgkinson.
Yes.
President Kelly.
Yes. Mike, I understand we got a couple of presentations.
We sure do. First, I believe we have someone with us from the Lions Club or a member of staff to discuss the reindeer run coming up
December 6th.
a week from this Saturday, correct?
Yes. Good evening. My name is Nicole Capalla, Marketing and Event Coordinator with the Wheaton Park District. We are just about 2 weeks away from the Reindeer Run 5K presented by the Wheaton Lions Club. Runners and walkers of all ages will fill the streets of downtown Wheaton with antlers, costumes, and holiday spirit. Registration is available, and more information is on wheatonparkdistrict.com/reindeer-run. Commissioners, you will find a postcard at your seat with more information as well. Thank you for your time. Happy holidays.
Thank you.
And Mike, just a question. We're missing the annual antlers.
You know, those went over like a lead balloon last year, so we decided to,
Forward to that.
on special request, we can make them available.
Yes,
though.
sir. I would give mine to John.
Okay.
Okay, I think we have a second presentation, right?
We sure do. Is Samuel Bedrosian in the audience today? He does not seem to be here. In his absence, I would like to
Hold it for next month. Or?
I would like to hold it for next month. So we will recognize Mr. Bedrosian next month from Troop 23, who, as just a teaser, he got his Eagle Scout recognition, and he did some great work for the district. We'll see him in December.
All right, community input. Donna, anybody signed up for public comment? Is there anybody in the audience who wants to address the board? Okay. I'd now like to move to the consent agenda. At the request of Commissioner Vanderschaff, I'm going to pull item C3 from the consent agenda, and we'll discuss that separately. So I need a motion to approve the consent agenda, all items with the exception of item C3.
Move to approve the consent agenda items A, B, and D. Approval of the disbursements totaling $1,894,322.10. Period beginning September 30th, 2014, ending November 11, 2014. Approval of previous minutes, October 8 regular meeting minutes, October 8 public hearing minutes, October 4 budget workshop and meeting minutes, Cosley Zoo Fox Exhibit fence installation, the community center boiler replacement, engineering, I believe it's a program. Cosley, we're eliminating Cosley Zoo. And D, approval of the Wheaton Park District Board of Commissioners 2015 meeting schedule.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, Kim, I'm going to move, according to our rules, I need to move that to the end of unfinished business or new business, so I'll do it right after unfinished business. So unfinished business, item number 1 is a change order for the Cosley and Prairie Permeable Paver Parking Lot Project. You were emailed a copy of the change order on Monday. The bulk of the change order, for a change, is that we budgeted about how much was $30-something thousand worth of unsuitable soil and only found $1,800. So this is the opposite of every other parking lot project we've ever done. So this change order is for credit for the remaining allowance, less 2 small changes that we made with some striping and stuff like that. So Anybody have any questions on that change order? Otherwise, I'll take a motion to approve.
Motion, move to approve. The
Change order number one.
change order.
We're talking about Casley only.
Right, what I've got is 3 and 4, correct? Change.
Yes.
Right, for the permeable paver parking lot project at Casley Zoo.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? No. All right. The second change order item is for some additional work to the asphalt parking paths at Arrowhead. Now, I have to tell you that the Buildings and Grounds Committee really just saw this. It just came in. And it's not a real big change order, so I told Mike to put it on the agenda. What I would like to do is ask the board to allow Buildings and Grounds to review it. We're going to have to meet with the contractor on site. He did some extra work, but there's a question about whether or not it was authorized. My guess is that the total amount of the extra will be settled somewhere into, he's asking for $10,000. We did authorize some extra work where there was some immediate adjacent bad paving. I'd like Buildings and Grounds to be able to meet and negotiate with the guy, and we'll write a change order, and any amount in that change order that takes us to over the $50,000 budgeted for Arrowhead Paths this year will just come out of next year's Arrowhead Paths budget. Right now, Rob, if I'm not mistaken, we're about $4,000 under on the Arrowhead Paths out of this year's $50,000 budget.
That's correct.
So if we settle this change order for $6,000, $2,000 would come out of next year's budget, and the rest of it would come out of the $50,000 that was already budgeted this year, because we won't be doing any more path work. So if you guys are okay with that, I'd like to get it settled. If not, I can negotiate, and then I can bring it back to you to approve next month.
So you're not looking for a motion to table then, John?
No, because we haven't sat down and negotiated. I have some problems with it. I don't think they're entitled to the full amount. So, I need to meet with them on site and see what was done and see where they're coming up with their numbers.
So what would we be voting on to give you approval?
Just allow us to settle it, and then the board can just ratify it, but, we're not going to go back after we agree to something with the guy. So if you guys are okay with that. Normally on a lot of jobs, we've given Buildings and Grounds some authority. On this particular job, when we awarded the contract, we forgot to ask for that. So we've been bringing every change order, on the last couple jobs, and we need to get back to the small ones, so that we can keep the job moving. So
I'm okay with that.
I'd
are you
move
guys
to,
okay with that?
I'd move to authorize Building and Grounds to settle this equitably for the Park District.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. And we'll bring back to you next time the change order so you can see it and what was done. All right, now we'll take up consent agenda item number 3, Casley Zoo Carnival Ride operator payment. First, I need a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
I need a second.
I'll second it.
All right, now we can have discussion. Kim?
Okay, so I just want this to be clear, because one of the rules we just implemented several months ago was board approval for payments over $10,000. And we need to just clarify what this payment is. And John, I think you did that nicely a few minutes ago, because at the moment it would appear as if we've had a contract signed and now the board has to approve it, which would be against the board oversight. So, John, if you could explain exactly what this $19,000 is that we are being asked to cut a check for.
Yeah, we engaged the services of an amusement ride company to come in and set up rides at the Casley Zoo. And we didn't pay for that up front. The way that contract reads, and it's the same contract, if I'm not mistaken, the company that we use at the Taste of Wheaton for all the rides there. So we put some small rides at Casley Zoo. Our deal with the company is they come in, they set up, they operate, they do the whole thing. We sell tickets at the door, and then there's a split in the ticket price. I think they get 75% and we get 25%. So basically, for letting them put their ride at one of our events, it's a fundraiser for us. So that's what happened here. So we've already taken in all the proceeds. If our check to them is $19,000, then that's 75% of what we took in. So we've already taken the money in, and now we're just paying out their share for doing the work.
So in effect, it would have been if they had collected tickets, they would be cutting us a check for the
For
$6,000,
$6,000.
which at the end of the day was simply what the agreement had
Exactly,
been.
and if they were running a ticket booth there, they would have collected and had to pay us, but we were selling tickets at the gate, and it was easier for us to collect the ticket number, correct?
Correct.
So that's really, that's the type of contract it was.
Okay, just wanted that to be clear
All right.
how that was handled.
So all in favor of approving item C3?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. Now we'll move to new business. Okay. New business, we have, first item is Resolution 2014-07, authorizing the completion and filing of a self-reporting questionnaire under the municipality's Continuing Disclosure Cooperation Initiative of the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission and the adoption of a disclosure compliance policy. And with respect to that, I think I'm going to ask.
I move to approve.
First, we need a motion, yeah.
Move to approve.
And I'll second it.
All right, and then as far as discussion, I've asked our bond counsel to come tonight and explain to you exactly what this is. She did attend a finance committee meeting where we had more than just the finance committee, but there's still, I think, three or that weren't there that haven't heard this yet. So.
President Kelly, I'm not sure Linda's aware of one wrinkle that you're not aware of, and she can explain it in greater detail. But the two pieces that are attached to the disclosures, one for the 2010 and one for the 2013 issuances, the final 2 pages of those actual disclosures, starting with paragraph 5, were amended a final time between Chapman and Cutler, Tressler, and Spear Financial. It came in on Tuesday. They are largely just further clarifications, and Tressler has approved of all of their content, and they're not really anything other than clarifying what has already been stated in a more detailed fashion. Linda can address that. I apologize that it came in on Tuesday. I think there was some miscommunication between myself and all the players regarding the need to have a final on Friday. I did not send it out because I didn't want to confuse the issue more with more emails and more added information. So I wanted to make sure that was clear and for the record, and if there's any questions regarding those final changes, I have the red lines here, and Linda can address it. Thank you.
Very briefly, just explain what we're doing.
Okay. The resolution does 2 things, and I'm going to take them in reverse order. Well, the 2 things are, it approves the filing with the Securities and Exchange Commission by December 1st of something called a questionnaire under the MCDC initiative, as it's come to be known. That deals with disclosure to investors regarding your bond issues. Every time you sell bonds in the public market, you put together an official statement or a prospectus that tells investors about the bond issue and about the district's credit so that they can make an informed investment decision. Included in those official statements is a lot of financial information about the district. Starting back in 1995, the SEC imposed a rule on larger governmental units, which would include you, that every year you're required to file initially with certain repositories on the East Coast, and now there's just one repository that's electronic. It's called EMMA. That's an acronym. And you file with these national repositories annual updates of your financial information. So if an investor is buying your bonds in the secondary market, let's say an investor today is looking to buy bonds that you issued in 2007, they would be able to go to these repositories and now on this EMMA website to find your updated financial information so that they can make an informed investment decision about your bonds. It became apparent to the SEC as a result of them doing what they're supposed to be doing over the past couple of years, that there was rampant noncompliance with these annual updating rules throughout the country. Even though units of local government had agreed to do the annual updates, they in fact weren't being done. They were being filed late. And the SEC got a little excited about that. And in March of this year, they said, okay, they were going to require both investment bankers and issuers like yourselves to go back 5 years and do a 5-year look back to determine whether or not you had been doing your annual updates. If there were discrepancies found in those filings, and if you had previously stated to investors that you were in compliance with those rules and doing your updates timely, then the SEC said to both investment bankers, tell us what you find as a result of your 5-year look back, and also governmental units tell us as well. So investment banks had a deadline of September 10th of this year to file with the SEC the results of their research about whether or not they had found noncompliance on deals they had underwritten, and governmental units now have a December 1 deadline to file with the SEC if you find discrepancies as well. So as a result of that, Rita and Mike asked us to take a look at your situation. And indeed, we found some discrepancies. So as a result of that, the district has, through staff as well as the finance committee, has decided to report these discrepancies on December 1st, on or before December 1st. So those are there are 2 questionnaires in your packet that have been completed. We and the folks at Tressler have spent a lot of time on this, doing the research, making sure all the facts are correct. So your resolution does 2 things. First of all, it authorizes the filing of those 2 questionnaires by December 1st with the SEC. And then secondly, adopts a formal policy and procedure regarding disclosure going forward. The SEC, that's something that the SEC is now requiring. We expect that as a result of this, at some point, you will receive a cease and desist order from the SEC under the terms of which you'll agree to adopt these policies and procedures, which you will already have done, and then to live up to them going forward.
So does anybody have any questions?
So there were several emails that had gone back and forth about this. Who is responsible for providing this updated information?
The district.
Okay. So what was the comment, Mike or Rita, about we changed our fiscal year, someone did not know about it, and hence updates were not made? How does that fit into this story?
Right. I mean, and when I answered your first question, when I say the district, ultimately, like with most things, the district ultimately is responsible for a lot of things, even though you may ask others to take care of things for you. Dave, do you want to address the situation with the change in year?
No, I think we should identify who these people are, too. I think we have Linda Gibbon from Chapman Cutler and Dave Phillips from Spear Financial. Sorry, Dave.
Instead of just our bond counsel.
Instead of just our bond counsel.
Good evening. As your municipal advisor, when we began serving the district in 2008, we entered into a secondary agreement to provide services for the continuing disclosure filings. And when the fiscal year changed, we were still filing on the old time schedule as opposed to the new time schedule, because it has to be filed 210 days or less after the close of the fiscal year. So when the fiscal year changed, that date changed, and we didn't catch that initially.
Okay, so that was the first bond, the 10?
9.
The 9. So the second one, which was like a 13, that was just last year. What happened with that bond? What was the problem there? Because that couldn't be the fiscal year. We should have known that long since.
Right, but in the official, okay, so you have to go back 5 years in your look back. So in 2013, the official statement said that you were in material compliance with all of your filings. And in fact, because there had been these irregularities going all the way back 5 years,
Okay.
that was not a correct statement made in 2013.
Okay, but we were filing appropriately by that bond
Yes.
issuance.
Yes.
Okay, so the two major problems. Well, so anything hence, then we would be misrepresenting by saying we've been in compliance. Yes. Okay, so do we have to worry about anything since? Well, apparently there's one on the agenda tonight.
The entire industry, because of what has occurred over the past 6 months with this, the entire industry is far more attuned to how seriously the SEC is taking this. And I have to believe it's going to be on everyone's checklist going forward to make sure that all of the annual statements are done, and then the report of that in the official statement is accurate. It's going to be top of mind for everybody now.
Okay, but will ours be?
Yeah.
Everyone else is great, but what about ours?
Absolutely.
Okay, and we have corrected everything historically that had not been done during the right time period.
Right, so everything that was supposed to have been done has been done. It's been a little bit late, but you're now caught up.
Okay, so then these policies that we're going to be adopting, what will be the change? Because if it was a fiscal year issue, we fixed that. What within our policies, and I don't know, Rita, if that's a question for you, what will we be changing to avoid these types of situations going forward?
We had adopted changes in our policies, I believe it was in 2011, to address this actually at the suggestion of our bond counsel. But the revised policy that's before you tonight is quite frankly better written.
Okay.
It doesn't change the steps that we will go through. Dave currently sends the continuing disclosure information to Andrea and I, and we tick and tie every single number. They've accused us of being angry.
It's just now that we've looked at it, we've asked Linda and Tressler to rewrite the policy so it's in full compliance with all the regulations, and it just,
That's a good way to put it.
so it was really just tuned up in light of this so that it said nobody can find anything fault with our policy, and then as long as we follow it, we can't get into this kind of trouble again.
And we're actually coming up with two policies now, because in the past it was a couple of paragraphs in the debt policy. In the next go-round, we're going to ask you to strike those policies, and by next go-round, I mean next budget cycle, when you go through the policies. Right now, you'll have like a duplication in the two policies. You're going to adopt, presumably,
This one.
his disclosure one. And that will be an extra policy. And then there'll be a couple of paragraphs next May that we'll ask you to strike from the debt policy. And instead say, see the disclosure policy for more information.
Okay. One question, and I'm sorry, Jane, but I still have a few more. So one question here that I had asked, and I'm not certain I'm quite clear, was about any additional risk and cost to the district. Because if we're not compliant, people are going to demand more from us, and whether that's in a different type of rate or whether that is some other form of, monetary penalty that gets mixed into a rate, something. The answer that I got back was a general, just the state of Illinois has its own issues, so we are dealing with those, and we get lumped into what may not be such a great situation. But can you explain a little bit more, because in their comment about foot faults and investors not being concerned about this. Can you explain that?
I will. The question is there a fiscal ramification interest rate wise because of again minor discrepancies? And when you see the rate tonight is a good example, that's an obvious no, that the local banks are not involved with that. The investment banks that are in turn involved with the larger issues, are challenged now as well to make sure that their compliance people are fully apprised of the history. Some of the language that has been used in official statements, always making an affirmative statement, is now changing to be more specific as to, our positive statements able to be made, or do you have to say, well, we did this and we did that, so you're not making a positive statement that you're admitting that there was some shortfall here and there? And so those kind of things will be changed, but from a monetary standpoint, no, that's not, if there would have been rampant non-disclosure, investors would not be able to buy your bonds because of the failure to disclose. Being late a little bit, is a very minor comparison to some of the situations that I know bond counsel has dealt with, which is nobody did anything for since 1995, and all of a sudden, you're the kind of chickens come home to roost. So. Interest rate penalty wise, no. In Illinois, there is certainly, I was trying to draw the analogy that in Illinois, we are penalized because of our zip code, because of the state financial situation, and so that we have bidders that won't bid Illinois bonds because of the aura of Illinois. And so even though you get a 0.8 or 0.92 kind of interest rate, which is wonderful. If you were in the non-Illinois area, it would have even been better. So, that's the type of thing that there is an interest penalty to, some of the issues, but these type of issues, no.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Jane, did you?
My questions were answered. Thank you, Linda, and thank you, Dave. But I just wanted to reemphasize, this is a pretty minor kind of thing because we changed fiscal years and failed to report it, and so it appeared on a document that way. So we're not really having any issues with our bonds or any other kinds of problems like that. So.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, any other discussion? All right, Mike, please take the roll.
Commissioner Vanderschaff?
Yes.
Commissioner Morrill?
Yes.
Commissioner Mee?
Yes.
Commissioner Hodgkinson?
Yes.
President Kelly?
Yes. Okay, new business, item 2, bid results and recommendations, general obligation limited tax bonds, series 2014. Mike?
Yes. As Dave referenced, we did very well in the sale yesterday at 89 basis points with Wheaton Bank and Trust, Wheaton, Illinois. We have some representatives here today. We would be seeking a motion to accept the net interest rate from Wheaton Bank and Trust, Wheaton, Illinois, of 0.89%, which upsizes the issue to $1,447,145. So we need a motion.
Second.
Discussion?
Okay, so we vote first on the rate and then we vote on issuing the bonds?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, Mike, take the roll.
Commissioner Vanderschaff?
No.
Commissioner Morrill?
Yes.
Commissioner Mee?
Yes.
Commissioner Hodgkinson?
Yes.
President Kelly?
Yes. Okay. Now, ordinance number 2014-09, providing for the issuance of $1,445,000, well, let me get the exact amount.
Yep.
$1,447,145 of general obligation limited tax park bonds, series 2014 of the Wheaton Park District, DuPage County, Illinois, for the payment of land for parks, for buildings, maintaining, improving, and protecting the same, and the existing land and facilities of said park district, and for the payment of outstanding obligations of said district, and providing for a levy of the direct annual tax to pay the principal and interest on said bonds. I need a motion.
So move.
Second.
Discussion. Kim?
So we are here again this year, and this is like maxing out your credit card. And I just don't think we should continue to do this every year where we run it up to the limit. I don't think that that's fiscally responsible, and I don't want us to do that again.
Harry?
I think we have to have, sufficient monies to do, the job of a park district. And these are the monies that help us move forward. And By not doing so, I think we fall behind to the extent that in future years, then we are significantly handicapped in doing what we're tasked to do.
And my opinion on this is, if I'm not mistaken, in 2015, we will have the opportunity to maybe refinance and do some things with some of our outstanding debt. We have quite a bit that is callable in 2015. So I'm going to be in favor of doing this year because it does provide $1 million for capital projects. But next year, when we're refinancing the debt, I think that's the perfect time for the Park District to take a look at what its debt obligations are, what we're going to do with debt moving forward. Are we going to try to pay some off early? Are we, I think we're open to a really big discussion next year. And so I'm for it this year, but I'm looking forward to entertaining that discussion next year on what we do with our debt in general. All right. Anybody else? Mike, take the roll, please.
Commissioner Vanderschaff?
No.
Commissioner Morrow?
Yes.
Commissioner Mee?
Yes.
Commissioner Hodgkinson?
Yes.
President Kelly?
Yes. I'd like to ask the board's permission. We have a couple people here from Wintrust Bank that are going to make a little presentation on a discussion item only. If you don't mind, I'd like to move that forward in the agenda and move that up now. Does anybody oppose to doing that? That way, if they want to leave. It's discussion, I think it's items 15 and 16. Hang on a second.
7.
It's items 16 and 17. Was in the new agenda that got mailed out Monday night after the finance meeting on Monday.
You would have. If you
Donna, do you have an extra?
Kim, it's on the.
Is it in my documents here? We're just discussing it, right?
It's a discussion item only. So what I want to do is move it up so that the people from interest. We have a pretty big agenda, and if somebody has to leave, I don't want them to have to sit through the whole meeting.
Right.
Do you want a motion to move that?
No, I'm just going to go ahead and do it. So, all right, so new business items 16 and 17, I'm going to take as one. Since they're discussion items, I'm going to start off. Everybody on the board should be aware of what went on with the agency IMED. For people who don't know, IMED is a place where we invest some of our working capital. And IMED invests in basically government securities and guaranteed investments. And IMED made an investment that was in the newspaper a few weeks ago through a third party, and there was fraud involved, or alleged fraud involved, and the collateral on that investment might not be good. And IMED and the investing company and the governing body of the United States that was supposedly the collateral, there's a bunch of discussion on that. We had about $15 million in the IMED Convenience Fund, which is a fund that we can transfer money in and out of by wire transfer on a moment's notice. Supposedly a safe investment, a place where municipalities can park their money. Over 300 municipalities had money in this convenience fund. The amount of money that's at risk is about 2.8% of the convenience fund. So IMED turned around and moved 2.8% of every municipality's money that was invested in IMED into a restricted fund, meaning we don't have access to that until the situation is resolved. So based on that happening, the Finance Committee met on Monday and reviewed our investment policy and what we're allowed to do and what we're not allowed to do. And as it turns out, we used to invest our money with Illinois funds. And Illinois funds was set up by the state of Illinois as a place where municipalities can put their money, and over 300, no, I think that one's got about 3,000 entities that invest their money from the state in this fund. Buy strictly government treasuries, and you don't earn much in the way of interest. It's more like a money market fund. We were with them for years before we made the move to IMET in 2009 or 2011. So since nobody was comfortable leaving the money in IMET, we've transferred the balance of our funds that are not restricted out of IMET and back into Illinois funds. Now, what we asked Mike and Rita to do was give the board some options. So on Monday, Bob Paschek and I'm forgetting all the names.
Amy Briles.
Attended, and Bill Gregg attended a finance committee meeting to talk about a different place we could keep our money. We weren't comfortable doing that without full board approval. It requires some change to the board policy. So what I'd like to do tonight is I'd like to let them come up and tell you a little bit about what they're proposing. Wintrust is our bank, so we look to them for our first recommendation. I do not want to have a major discussion on it tonight. I'd like you to all think about it. What I would like to do is schedule a finance committee meeting for in the evening that everybody can attend, where we have two topics to discuss. We have to finish the budget discussion anyway, and we have some stuff to discuss on full-time employee counts and that type of stuff, and I'd like to do this at the same time. So I'd like you to hear the presentation so we don't have to ask them to come back, and they were already prepared to come tonight. And then people can ask questions, and then you can think about it. And then I'd like to have a healthy discussion about, what we're going to do with our funds and which direction do we want to go. And, obviously we thought we were in a very safe fund. I think it was 3AM rated, which is as high as you could get. And yet you can't, the way it was set up, we weren't able to be protected from an alleged fraud. So we want to worry, how are we going to make that happen, and what are we going to do to guarantee that? So I don't know who wants to come up and make a little short presentation. And
Looks like Bill.
Looks like Bill is going to. Bill would like to do it.
Good evening.
Saturday or night. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you, President Kelly, for moving us up on the agenda. I did read through your agenda, and clearly you have a long agenda, a long night ahead of you. So I'll try and make this as brief as possible. My name is Bill Gregg, G-R-E-G-G. I do have two first names. I'm a managing director and senior fixed income manager with Great Lakes Advisors. We are the institutional asset management arm of Wintrust Financial Corporation. And on behalf of Great Lakes and Wintrust and my fellow brethren at Wheaton Bank and Trust, I thank you for giving us this opportunity to speak to you tonight. Before we dive into the books, obviously, President Kelly talked about, what happened at IMET. To me, it's no great surprise that you have a situation where we all know how difficult interest rates are in the short end of the fixed income market. And, I've been doing this over 30 years, and I can tell you there's no magic to this stuff. And so I think that all fixed income managers are faced with the challenges to try and get some type of yield, but obviously, most importantly, provide safety of principal and liquidity to clients such as yourself. So I've been doing this for a long time, as I said, and seen a lot of markets over 30 years. So Great Lakes does specialize. One of our areas, which I'm with, specializes in providing fixed income expertise and education to clients such as yourself to be able to get the liquidity you need and safety of principal, and most importantly, work with you as a client, because every board is different. I can tell you from experience, some boards don't like corporates, some boards don't like municipals, some boards don't like mortgages, some boards don't like anything. So we work with all boards and try to provide the best solution possible. If we can just go jump right into page 5, we have $6.5 billion under management, Great Lakes. And for those, just a quick overview, Wintrust Financial Corporation owns a lot of different community banks, one of which is Wheaton Bank and Trust. In fact, I live in Lake Forest, Illinois, and that's where Wintrust Financial Corporation was started, was Lake Forest Bank and Trust, one community bank, and then it spread to 2, 3, 4. Now we have 16 community banks, of which Wheaton Bank and Trust is one of them, which is a very unique model in that you have an institutional asset management arm tied closely to a community bank. Unlike your big global banks, it's a unique model where you have institutional expertise side by side with the community banking service. And we at Great Lakes, we have a lot of different types of clients, ranging from municipalities such as yourself, but we also manage a lot in endowments and religious organizations, employer intermediaries. So we have a lot of different types. We don't only do fixed income, we do a lot in equity and other fields, but obviously for tonight, we're talking about fixed income. And on page 6, you look, we have a lot of different types of strategies. Fixed income isn't just one type of strategy, but for your purposes, we focus on short income, short government income. But we also specialize in intermediate, core, corporates, everything. So we have a big group, as you'll see. We have 6 portfolio managers, 5 others along with myself. We have over 150 years of experience combined. So I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. It's a bunch of old people walking around managing fixed income, but we all have a tremendous amount of experience. And we do a lot of different types, as I said, working for religious organizations. We do socially responsible investing, all that kind of thing. Again, not necessarily applicable to what you're doing, but it gives you the depth of the organization. On page 7, just a list of a few of our clients. We have numerous clients. I spend a lot of time in Wheaton. In fact, this is my 4th trip to Wheaton in 2 weeks. And I spend a lot of time covering Gwen Henry, who's treasurer of DuPage County. We manage money for the DuPage County treasurer. We manage all of the money for the DuPage Forest Preserve, which is the $320 million. We just started managing money for the College of DuPage. So we love Wheaton, and we love DuPage County, and we continue to come out here. But we also are very dedicated to other spaces like police and fire. We're one of the top 4 managers of police and fire pension fund money in the state of Illinois. And again, these are all subject to very strict state statutes. So they're very, very strict guidelines to what we can do and what we can't do. And we work within those guidelines. We're extremely knowledgeable of those guidelines to be able to provide the best solution possible. Just going to page 9, you can get a picture of all of my fellow comrades in fixed income. Steve actually is the founder of Great Lakes. He was at Steinrow and then Continental Bank back in the mid-'80s to late '80s and started up Great Lakes in early '90s. And Emily has been around over 30 years. She worked with a number of corporations before she came to Great Lakes and has run the CFA, which is the Certified Financial Analyst Society, having a CFA herself. Myself, Pat, is an expert in municipals. He ran all the municipal bond funds for Bank One before they were taken over by J.P. Morgan. So we rely heavily on Pat with his expertise in mutual funds. Teddy assists me and does a lot of work for our short-term products in investing. Rich is another short-term guy that I work closely with. He ran all the short-term funds at M&I Bank, which is now Bank of Montreal. In fact, Bank of Montreal's short-term track record uses Rich's track record when he was at M&I Bank. And Scott is another assistant of ours. So a very deep bench for fixed income. On page 10, just in a nutshell, what we do, safety of principle is first and foremost, but we also are tied. We're measured against a benchmark. So that's important as well to kind of judge how we're doing as an investment manager. But the way we do, we're very conservative. We've always been very conservative in our approach. We have very conservative clients. And the way we actually pick up return is through our expertise in identifying value in securities. Now, securities might be municipals, even, trying to find value in CDs to try and find higher yielding CDs, depending on where you are along points in the Treasury curve, trying to find value. And, of course, mortgages, if the clients choose to invest in mortgages. Some clients don't like it. Other clients are fine with it. They're government guaranteed. But that's the way we generate value. And we are constantly managing the portfolios, looking for ways to add value, looking for ways to provide the liquidity that you need, and having full diversification. Just on page 12, this is one snapshot. I personally manage the money for the Forest Preserve, DuPage Forest Preserve. They have two types of money. They have about $100 million in short term, all right, which is what I'm proposing that you guys do. And in that short term money, they pay out, payroll, they have accounts payable, they have debt service accounts, they have construction and development accounts, they have just every, special project accounts like Willowbrook and Salt Creek, et cetera. And so we manage all these accounts under one same mandate and manage the liquidity. So we've been doing this for a number of years now for DuPage. It's worked out really well. We benchmark ourselves against the Barclays 1 to 3 year government index. And you can see, since inception, net of fees, we're at 45 basis points. The past year, we're 68 basis points versus 52 for the index. So what's the difference here? And I really want to point this out. What's the difference between you investing in a mutual fund of government securities and you hiring your own mutual fund manager? All right? That's what you're doing with us. We are your personal mutual fund manager. So you have your own account with your own securities and your own investment manager that we report to you on a quarterly basis, that we are fiduciaries, that we are responsible for the money. So if something happens, which it won't happen, but if something were to happen where we invest in something that turned out like that IMED investment, we're responsible for it. All right? That's a really important distinction because now you can say, hey, pay us. All right? You goofed up. Now, I can tell you for the amount of work and the amount of money that we make on this, I'm not going to make a mistake and invest in something that I shouldn't invest in. So the fact that we come to the quarterly meetings, we update you on the markets, we update you on your investments, I think is a real benefit to boards and individual members that are themselves responsible for how they're investing the money. We also work very closely with Rita and the people at the Wheaton Park District on their liquidity needs, help out on, you talk about bond issuance and the arbitrage between interest rates and the bond issuance. We do things like that. We talk about them. So there's a lot of little extra things that come along that we're not just this manager that's off somewhere in the distance and you just kind of get our returns. We tend to be very hands-on, very service-oriented, and that's on page 13. You talk about returns. Returns are second. Safety of principal is first. That's the most important thing. Nobody cares necessarily how much you beat the benchmark by, but they do care that you're getting some yield, okay, and your money's most importantly safe. So we work with you. We're downtown. As I said, I've been out here 4 times in the past 2 weeks, so it's an easy drive for me. So I'm here for questions and any type of, again, things that you feel uncomfortable with, that's important. So if you say, and we talked about this, repos, it was this particular structure at IMET, a repo collateralized by agricultural loans, which in itself is kind of a strange thing, but we don't do repos. In fact, the repo market's dead. So we strict that from the investment policy statement. Now, if you don't want to do municipals, we can strict that. They're the 4 highest quality municipals, short-term municipals. We do them. We do them for the treasurers. We do them for the forest preserve. But if you don't like that, we can strict that. If you don't like mortgages or feel uncomfortable with mortgages, we can strict that. So we will work with you in any type of what you're comfortable with. Obviously, mortgages and municipals help add yield to the portfolio. And I will say to you, with mortgages, they're 100% guaranteed by the government. They're Fannie and Freddie mortgages. So I'm not worried about mortgages defaulting. The municipals, they're 4 highest quality municipals. So I feel the probability of a municipal rated triple or double A minus or better defaulting in a year and a half is virtually 0. And even if something does happen to that municipal, then we will talk to you about it and we'll sell it, or we'll figure it out. So, but we'll work with you. And to have that flexibility and to have a bench like we do, I think is a neat solution for you guys. But it's up to you. So, I'd be happy to help you if you wanted help. So.
All right, thank you.
Okay, any questions?
Well, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to see, does anybody have any questions?
I just want to clarify something, because the comment that you made about IMET. So I just want to get out for the record, the investment with IMAP had been sold to the district as being backed by the government. What turned out to have happened was the fact not that backing was fraudulent, how that was obtained or associated with it. Not the fact that, what we were sold was supposedly a safe investment. Now, whether or not that was fraudulent was beyond our control. So I just want it to get out there that we had operated within the boundaries that we are supposed to act with safe and secure investments. It so happened that it just wasn't true. So I just want to get that out there, that we were not playing in the repo market. We were sold something that was guaranteed by the government, and that is what we are tasked to do, is with an investment that is guaranteed. So I just want to get that out there.
So you can see from Bill's presentation why the Finance Committee alone is not making this decision. This is a decision for the entire board. I wanted you guys to have the opportunity to hear this. I'm sure everybody will have their own opinions. So we are going to schedule a Finance Committee meeting where we will discuss it. A final decision won't be made at that meeting. It would then have to come back and be acted upon at a regular board meeting. But I want to schedule that during hours that the people who are interested and, want to have some input can come do that, because I thought that was way beyond the authority given to the Finance Committee. Does anybody have any other questions for Bill?
Great. Well,
Thank you very much for
your
coming
time.
today.
Thank you,
I
Bill.
really
Thank you,
appreciate it.
Amy.
Thanks, Amy.
While we're still on that topic, I would like to have that Finance Committee meeting the first week in December. Can we pick an evening and 7 o'clock work, or does Saturday work better for people?
We can't do it on Tuesday night, 2nd.
What's Wednesday the 3rd?
Wednesday the 3rd is open for me.
Good for me.
Good for me.
I have to look, I'm sorry. I would be available the 1st.
That's a Monday night?
That's a Monday.
Not me.
Let me, can I get back to you?
Yeah, you know what? Why don't we tentatively set it, and then you get back to me after you look. And if I have to then send out an email with some other dates, I'll have Mike do that. But let's tentatively pencil in the 3rd. That wasn't one of those.
That was one of the dates I had suggested.
That wasn't one of those Christmas. That wasn't one of the Christmas party
the
emails
foundation
we got.
one is on
Right?
No, that's the
Tuesday night.
second.
That's on Tuesday night.
That's
the
the
2nd.
Tuesday night is the board. Okay,
7 o'clock at the museum.
7 o'clock.
Wherever you'd like it. We could do it at the
I think
community
we should
center.
do it at the community center.
Okay.
It's just as easy to go up there as that museum lighting is terrible. Only Mike.
It's 130 years old.
Museum lighting is old.
Only Mike can operate in the dark like that. I can't see anything there.
So
Okay.
7 o'clock, Community Center.
All right.
December 3rd is our tentative.
Pending what's going on with.
All right. And until that time, I want everybody to know that the money is back in the Illinois funds, invested in fully guaranteed securities. And I even have some literature on that if anybody wants to see that tonight. I brought a little thing on iFunds and that you can take
Yeah,
a look
okay.
at on the Illinois funds.
And Mark and Phil weren't able to be there on Monday for the Finance Committee meeting, so we want to make sure that they're all.
Right. Phil is 100% up to speed on this, and I explained it all to Mark, and he was going to come Monday. Something must have come up, but Phil has been involved in what we were doing, so he's as familiar with this as I am. All right, let's go back to new
Golf course
business.
chemicals.
All right.
Justin,
And even though we're required to read all this, we're not going to.
John,
God bless you.
We are not.
Public Action Council is going to come and arrest you, sir.
We are not reading every one of these bids. We're going to state that anybody who wants to see them, it's posted.
It's on the agenda. It's on
our
the
agenda.
website.
It's posted on our website, and you can read each award. So I need a motion to accept, here, I'll put it like this. We're going to accept golf course chemical bids from various companies. Some of the chemicals will be bought from Arthur Klesson, some from BTSI of Franklin, Illinois, Frankfurt, some from Pendleton Turf Supply. Boy, this is small print. And some from Progro in Illinois. And I will say that in each case, the chemicals are going to the lowest bidder. And I did ask Justin, in the case of where multiple bidders had the same price, he wanted to make sure that all the bidders were getting part of the chemicals in, so that we had a business relationship with everybody, so that if one chemical company was out, he'd be able to have an account at the other chemical company.
Good
So,
move. Move to
Right.
approve the chemical purchase bids for the Arrowhead Golf Course for 2015.
second.
Everybody take the roll.
Commissioner Hodgkinson.
Yes.
Commissioner Me.
Yes.
Commissioner Morrill.
Yes.
Commissioner Vanderschaff.
Yes.
President Kelly.
Yes. Okay. The second item is bid results and recommendations for baseball and softball uniforms. And I'm going to say the same thing. We're not going to read every bid and every price, but it's posted in the agenda and it's available on the website. We will be buying from Sano Sports, Kerhoffers, Anaconda Sports, BSN, and BSN. Now, before I take a motion on this, I do need to point something out. When I reviewed the bids, I noticed that on one of the bid items, the bid was not going to the lowest bidder. All right, so I asked Mike if that was just a typo and that the star saying it was an alternate item was missing. As it turned out, the bidder had made a bid error and inadvertently switched two numbers. All right, and that was, the bidder was Anaconda Sports.
For pants.
And it was for pants. And you'll see that they have $90 in, and we were awarding for a higher price. All right, Mary Beth had inquired of that, and they claimed they made a bid error. Now, here's where the problem comes in. I don't know if legally we can accept that bid. I wasn't made aware of the bid adjustment. I just found the thing when I was reading it, and then I got the explanation like at 5 o'clock tonight. I did have a chance to discuss it with Phil. I caught him in the car. And we may or may not be able to allow them to pull their bid and then still give them contracts for the other items that they were the low bidder on. So the way we see it, there's three options. Anaconda Sports can honor the written bid that they sent us, which means they'll have to sell us pants for $90 plus the other items they were low bidder on. Anaconda Sports can withdraw their bid in its entirety, at which case then we will go to the second bidder on those other items. Or the Anaconda would be allowed to claim a bidder, because law does allow you to do it, but there's certain stipulations they have to follow. The bidder has to be obvious. Our bidding documents, our RFP, has to have language that allows us to select a bid that's in the best interest of our agency. So my recommendation is going to be that the board vote to allow staff to award these bids, provided that Mike gets a letter from Tressler telling us it's acceptable for us to let Anaconda withdraw their bid on the pants, actually correct their bidder, which makes them the second bidder. Their bidder is not making them a low bidder; it's making them the second bidder on one of the items. But they would remain low on the other. But I don't think this board should award without Tressler telling us we can do it. If Tressler comes back and says no, the only two options are they honor their bid or they withdraw their bid. Because I don't think we have a bid bond, do we? So there's no bid bond. So they could just withdraw their bid with no bid bond. So I'd like to see us accept these low bidders and leave it up to Tressler to tell us whether we took correct action or not. If they say no, that we let the staff make that change, because I know we have to get this equipment on order in the next week or so, right, Ron? Do we have time for these bids to be approved at the next board meeting, or does it need to happen before the next board meeting?
December 10th, Ron.
Or on the 3rd. We're having a meeting.
Well, that's a subcommittee. We'd have to call it a meeting. We'd have to call it a special meeting then instead of just a finance sub. I wasn't planning on taking any action at that meeting, so I was going to call it a subcommittee meeting.
It sounds like Ron can deal with it on the 10th as well.
I'm fine with whatever the board wants to do. I'm okay with approving these bids and just having Tressler make sure that legally Anaconda can switch their bid.
Well,
Yeah.
if we approve it, can those items that Anaconda is not a part of be ordered? And the only
Order
ones we
5
would-
things
There's only
instead of
one.
6.
we would
Just
read-
to order the 3 things that were going to go to Anaconda. Yeah, we could do that. And then we could approve Anaconda for the 3 or 4 things they were low on at the next board meeting. But at least the T-shirt orders and the stuff that requires silk screening and everything can get going.
Wait, we would vote on everything but Anaconda?
Right, we wouldn't vote to award Anaconda, well, and we couldn't award the pants because if Anaconda came back and said they would honor their bid of $90 in order to get the other stuff, I don't know if they would or they wouldn't. I don't know how big
So
those.
no pants and no visors.
The concept of ordering in advance, accepting Anaconda would fit into John's original scenario.
Say it again, Mike.
The concept of staff ordering everything except the pants from Anaconda in advance, as well as the
Other stuff.
non-Anaconda items would work in the scenario John has outlined. So the point is, you can take action tonight.
And then we don't have to revisit it. We can just say Tressler's going to send a letter. They can show it to me. And we can make sure we're comfortable that what we did tonight was fine. And if Tressler's recommendation is either Anaconda takes, their bid is either good the way they submitted it or they pull it. I just don't, I'm not going to be the person that says they can modify it.
All right, so either we're going to have a motion to accept the bids
Subject to Tressler
Right.
approval.
by Tressler, or we're going to make a motion to accept the bids other than the Anaconda bids. Is that correct?
I think what you want to do, in my opinion, is you want a motion to approve the bids as recommended by staff, subject to attorney review and approval of the Anaconda pants issue.
And so that's the former motion as I crafted. So, well, let's get it going. I'll move to approve the bids as presented, move to approve or accept the bids as presented, contingent upon attorney approval. Is that about what we're looking for?
Right. Yes, I think they'll do it. Second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Jane?
I'm going to ask my same question. Bidding co-ops, there are no bidding co-ops we could have gotten this equipment from? No.
I don't know. I would find.
We are the only ones in America buying baseballs.
No, but we buy from a lot of local vendors.
Okay,
Right, Ron?
I just wanted to ask that question.
When we put it out for bid, we're getting bids from local vendors.
Yeah,
The co-op thing, basically, I haven't read one in the last year or two, typically what they say is comparable to Rawlings equipment. And then when you find out who the manufacturers are going to be, you find out that it is not comparable, that indeed it's a lesser quality product that is being bid in that environment. As a consequence, we have not ordered through
We can revisit it for the future as we have committed to doing in 2015.
And knowing Ron has done this for, how many years of equipment?
Ron's
I
been
know
doing
you've
this for
about
50 years,
but
Ron. I'm
you've
not
been
questioning you.
And we've tried other brands and, the baseball softball board at time would tell Ron, well, let's go try this to save a little money. And we found out that over time, you buy a cheaper pair of pants and instead of getting 2 seasons out of it, you only get 1. Now you just pay double for your pants. So, on this one, I'm going to trust Ron's judgment.
It does become a quality issue, quite frankly. And you also run into problems trying to compare. When you're bidding something out, you pretty much have to specify the manufacturer because you simply say, hey, I want a Little League baseball. There's a couple hundred manufacturers out there. And some have a very good ball, I would think, but others, type of balls that wear off the So what we've learned is the fact that you have to be able to bid in a manner that allows you to deal with comparability of products.
Anybody else? Okay, Mike, take the roll.
Commissioner Hodgkinson,
Yes.
Commissioner Mee,
Yes.
Commissioner Morrill,
Yes.
Commissioner Vanderschaff,
Yes.
President Kelly.
Yes. And then Mike, just email me that letter as soon as you get it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. New business item number 6, amendment to the cafeteria section 125 plan for the Wheaton Park District. It raises the maximum annual salary.
Deduction.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Thank you,
Deduction allowed by employees to a flexible spending account from $2,500 to $2,550.
So move.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Questions?
I thought we were going to do it to the statutory limit so we didn't have to come back and do this every year.
Yeah, that's what I was understood as well.
If we raise it to 2550, then when the government changes it to 3200 or what have you, we have to come back.
Well, you're saying that
You don't think
just
this is
change the
fun?
wording?
So I thought we were going to change the wording so that we would give them the authority that if we met the statutory limit,
That's,
then
you know what, if I may just interrupt briefly, that's the case. The author of the agenda item, which is speaking right now, erred. So if you pass the resolution as presented by our HR manager, you'll be in great shape.
Well, we're just voting on the 1 year. I mean, but.
No.
the resolution
The resolution is written correctly. I wrote the agenda item
Okay,
incorrectly.
because I thought I read it somewhere that was what
You
we're
did.
doing. Okay, thank you.
I think we need a
Do we need to amend?
amendment to just simply move to approve Resolution 2014-08, do we not?
Amend my motion.
Yes.
Amend my second.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Anybody opposed? Okay, now we have some full-time vacant positions. New business item number 7 is approval to fill the vacant full-time trim crew leader position. Motion?
So move.
Second?
Second.
Questions, discussion, comments? Terry?
Mike, just for clarification, this was a position that had been just previously vacated, is that correct?
That's correct.
Kim?
I had asked for some extra information, so thank you. There were 4 positions, actually, and thank you all for giving me that extra information here. I wanted to better understand how this fit into the hierarchy at the district and what the supervisory responsibilities were for. So I have this thing. I don't know if you guys had all seen this list as well, but this was some
I'd be
good
happy to
information.
forward them to everybody.
Thank you.
Okay. Can we, all in favor of filling the position?
Aye.
Anybody approve? Disapprove? Okay, thank you. The second position is the full-time vacant community center evening custodial crew leader position. Motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Second. Anybody have any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. Item number 9 is approval to fill the vacant full-time Arrowhead restaurant manager position. Motion?
Move to approve.
Second?
Second.
Anybody have any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? And the last position is the full-time museum curator position. Motion?
I move to approve.
Second.
Anybody have any questions on that one?
I just want
Kim?
to remind everyone that we're required to fill this spot. So,
For
as
the
part of our
IGA.
agreement,
Right.
yes.
Intergovernmental agreement, yeah.
Thank
All
you.
in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Disapprove? Okay. Let's see, now we're down to, okay, item number 11.
11, you're correct.
11, approval of an intergovernmental agreement regarding Silverwood Glen Park between the Winfield Park District and the Wheaton Park District. And I will make a comment on that before I look for, well, why don't I have a motion?
Move to approve.
first?
I'll second it.
Okay. When I was reading through that, I noticed that the way it reads in the intergovernmental agreement, Winfield has $175,000. And that's their max. And our $25,000 has to come out of that. And they're already committed to spending $162,000. So I was a little curious as to how they were going to spend $162,000, not counting our labor, and still have money to pay us our $25,000. And Rob, you want to come up and just go through that? They're going to take some steps, but what I wanted to see in that agreement was that if it goes over because they bought too much equipment, we're still going to get our 25, or if our labor runs 30, we're still going to get our 30. I don't want to hear that they only had 175, and because they're over budget, we can't get paid. So,
Sure. The exhibit that's attached to this, which includes that budget, was put together by our staff after I had met with Mark Pulowski, walked the site, discussed kind of what we were talking about, and we said, well, let's give you a range of, that we can basically build what you're asking for something in the range of $175,000. So obviously, as John had noticed, we are a little bit over that right now. But these are just numbers. We have nothing more than a square on the map and sort of a feeling of what we're going to include in that area. So talking with Mark today, our goal is to stay at that 175, and before we start ordering equipment, we know we're going to be at $150,000 in equipment, knowing that that 25 is the labor that we're going to need to put this in. So basically, we will stay within that budget. You, as well as the Winfield Board, are going to have the ability to approve those final plans once they're developed.
okay, so we'll get to see this one more time. Even though the intergovernmental agreement, the final budget, we're going to get to approve before the money's being spent.
The IGA calls for both boards approving the final design and what's included in costs.
Okay.
Where is Silverwood Glen? I don't know.
County Farm Road?
The new subdivision on County Farm Road, and the subdivision is outside of the Wheaton Park District. As you go into that,
East of County Farm?
correct. As you travel
South of Geneva?
east, you'll run out of that new subdivision and you'll run right into our border, the Park District border,
Okay.
and then the park is right on the Winfield Wheaton Park District border, and we have nothing in that neighborhood for quite a while. So it's a nice deal.
All right. Rob, thanks. Anybody have any other questions for Rob? Yeah, Kim.
Well, I don't know if it's Rob. Can I get a little background on this agreement? Because I've not seen one come through with Winfield before. Like, have we partnered with?
This came up at a board meet. It came up at a board meeting.
I can give you the
spring, didn't it?
background. Yeah, it has been it's been discussed with Buildings and Grounds, and I believe at least at one board meeting, and it may have been one that you missed. At any rate, it's related to the Sensory Playground and Garden Initiative. WDSRA is very involved in that project, as you know. Mark is one of my colleagues on the WDSRA Board of Directors, so I have been keeping the WDSRA Board apprised of our progress, and we're seeking, obviously, new partners. And my counterpart in Winfield, Mark Pulowski, came up with the idea at the same time, when the development was set to take place at Silver Glen. They do not have the resources we have in the form of a trades division, and we're looking for a way to support the Sensory Garden program, as well as get some needed assistance in having our trades division put the playground in. As you know, when our trades division does that work, we save a great deal of money on a markup on hiring an independent contractor. So he's taking advantage of that as well. So we sat down, crafted a concept, and I turned it over to Rob.
So then what is like the hourly charge? I mean, how are we dealing with that?
What we did is the cost, Larry and his team keep very, very close cost analysis on every park playground we build. So we looked at a concept of what we would build there based on the cost of the equipment that Mr. Pulowski had said he had available, and we looked at the last few similar projects in size that we have done here, and I asked Larry and his trades division manager, Nick Novak, and Rob and Steve Hinchy to come up with a program that could be used as a proposal that'll be pretty darn close based on our actual experiences in constructing playgrounds.
And then I'm sorry, Don, did you have a comment?
No, and I will say, when this first came up, I don't know if I misunderstood. I thought that we were being asked to build a park district, build a playground for Winfield, and they were going to pay us. They are paying us in the form of a donation to the Sensory Garden. So, in effect, we're making a donation to the Sensory Garden with our labor. I missed that the first time around, and that was my fault. And when it came up and I started reading this, I called Mike. I go, Mike, I just didn't remember. I thought they were just going to write us a check. And the more I thought about it, I'm still in favor of it. I think the Sensory Garden is a great project, and but if you thought that the first time you heard it, you might not have been alone.
Okay.
Just a final, as the background is concerned, the asset of the sensory playground, it will be deeded to the Park District, just as we do with the Cosley Foundation. So we will own the asset.
Is the Silverwood Glen project also going to recognize the Park District, Wheaton Park District, as well as Winfield Park District?
Yes, we'll have joint signage there,
Great.
and Winfield will take care of maintenance, but we are available to assist in the instance that they need it.
I wouldn't want our residents to come use the playground and feel like they were being shorted and
Absolutely
they were being served
not.
by the Winfield Park District.
We're going to have a big
We want-
multi-park district party, make sure everybody knows about it.
Thank you.
On a intergovernmental agreement, I need a roll.
Yes, sir.
So, Mike, please take the roll.
Commissioner Vanderschaff?
Yes.
Commissioner Morrow?
Yes.
Commissioner Mee?
Yes.
Commissioner Hodgkinson?
Yes.
President Kelly?
Yes. Item number 13, approval to make a grant application to DuPage County for water quality improvement
number-
project at Ratchie Park.
Number 12.
Did we miss 12?
We did miss 12.
It's intergovernmental
Approval of a
agreement.
second amendment to an intergovernmental agreement between the College of DuPage and the Wheaton Park District,
County.
County of DuPage, and the Wheaton Park District for improvements to the Illinois Prairie Path National Lewis University site and lease of such property to the Wheaton Park District. Mike, that's the mini.
Skate park, mini golf course.
So moved.
Second.
Yeah, so people know, the reason for extending the agreement is it's been brought to our attention that the site is now in need of some upgrades and some repairs, and we don't want to be putting our money into a facility that we don't have a current lease on. So we
Right.
need to get this done first before we can make the repairs.
Yep.
That is Mike,
Roll
take
call.
the roll.
Commissioner Hodgkinson?
Yes.
Commissioner Mee?
Yes.
Commissioner Morrow?
Yes.
Commissioner Vanderschaff?
Yes.
President Kelly?
Yes. Item number 13, approval to make a grant application to DuPage County for a water quality improvement project at Ratchie Park.
So moved.
Second.
Anybody have any questions or comments? Oh, that we can do it all in favor. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. Item number 14, and this is the final approval naming the Jerry Champion Ficus Soccer Field. Need a motion.
I move to name the indoor synthetic turf gymnasium at what is currently called Central Athletic Facility, the Jerry Champion Ficus Field.
Give a second.
Second.
Anybody have any questions or comments? Mike, go ahead and take a roll on that.
Commissioner Vanderschaff,
Yes.
Commissioner Morrow,
Yes.
Commissioner Mee,
Yes.
Commissioner Hodgkinson,
Yes.
President Kelly.
Yes. Item number 15, final approval naming the Ron Ellenboss Field.
I'd like to make a motion for the Wheaton Park District to name the Atten Park ball field number 17 the Ron Ellenboss Field in honor of Ron Ellenboss and his service to the Wheaton Park District residents for over the last 50 years.
Second.
Second. Yes. Questions or comments?
Just state, Ronnie, you're back there. Ron, you and I go way back, like I'm sure you do with a lot of people in this room, but, thanks for all your stuff over the years, and I know you're going to keep doing it for another 50, right? You better, man. Thanks a lot, Ronnie.
Thanks, Ron.
Thank you.
Mike, take the roll, please.
Commissioner Vanderschaff,
Yes.
Commissioner Morrow,
Yes.
Commissioner Mee,
Yes.
Commissioner Hodgkinson,
Yes.
President Kelly.
Yes.
You better talk, Ron.
Yeah, I know you have a busy evening going here, but Wheaton Park District has made this quite a year for the Ron Ellenboss family. Being the Grand Marshal of the 4th of July Parade was quite an honor, and those 12 grandkids are still talking about walking in that parade. So that was great, and a few weeks ago I got a call from Mike and said that this recommendation was going to be made, and I don't even know what I said to Mike because I was just bowled over by it, quite frankly. And then more recently, met with Mike and Mary Beth out at Arrowhead and found out that I had received the IAPD award. My goodness, it's just been a fantastic year. And just reflecting back on the naming of the field, I'm particularly happy that it's not a memorial name. But I thoroughly have enjoyed working. I think I told Mike and Mary Beth on the IAPD time was that this is an awful lot of recognition that one has received for doing something that they thoroughly enjoy doing. So I have to say thank you. Since Ray is sitting up there, I think if there's one person that I can turn to and say, that's why I'm still here, it would be Ray Morrill, because he took me out of the dungeon, which I called the Main and Roosevelt location, where I spent about 23 years down in that basement. I'm surprised I haven't died of asbestos right now, but I'm still here and still kicking. So, but Ray took care of that and moved me into a great facility at the back of the gymnasium at the community center. So I've always received support. I can turn to any of the departments here, and if I make a call, gosh darn, I get immediate response. And I try to be self-sufficient, much to Mary Beth's concern once in a while when she pictures me going up and down the ladder and whatnot. But bottom line, from time to time, I do need some help, and I make a call, and the response is immediate. And I always remember an incident back in the 90s. I called Charlie Daniels, who was head of maintenance at the community center. I asked him whether or not I saw him, and I said, "Charlie, you think you could give me a hand?" And he said, "Well, of course we can. We'd be happy to." And then he got a smile on his face, and he says, "Besides, if I said no, you could call Ray Morrill, and I'll be doing it in 5 minutes." That's the type of support I've received from the Park District across the board. So thank you for all this recognition. The whole family appreciates it so much, and I appreciate it. It wasn't necessary, and as I said at the IAPD dinner, I'm going to keep on keeping on as long as the good Lord keeps me physically and mentally healthy. Thank you so much.
You deserve it, Ron.
Okay. We did items 16 and 17, and we're going to move on to staff reports. However, I had an item, I don't know if anybody saw an item in the staff report. Rob, can you come up for a minute? There was a memo in the staff reports from Rob to the Board of Commissioners talking about water, what was, it was the watershed. Yeah, it was the watershed amendment. And the way the memo read, it said, it goes, no action is required by the Wheaton Park District Board of Commissioners unless it desires specifically to exclude any of the projects. And I didn't really like the no action. I thought that was pretty good on Rob's part to stick it in his report instead of making it an item. But so I'd like Rob to just explain what we're doing in this memo. We heard of it at Buildings and Grounds, but I think you need to know what's going on, and then you'll understand the reason for the memo.
Sure. The county does long-range planning for their watersheds. We have 3 watersheds within Wheaton. The 2 big ones that you're probably aware of are Winfield Creek, which runs through Northside Park, and Springbrook Creek, which goes through Kelly Park, goes through Wheaton, starts in Central Park. So Winfield Creek has had a watershed plan for some time. The work that was done at Northside Park required an amendment to it to specifically say that the work that we were doing in there was a part of the watershed plan that allows us to do some things that are generally contradictory to the ordinance, such as impacting existing wetlands. Well, you all know the wetlands that were there were substandard. We turned that park into something a whole lot better than was there. By having it included in the watershed plan, it sort of paves the way for us in terms of that permitting and says, oh, okay, this is something that we've looked at before. This is something that's beneficial to the watershed, to water quality. It should be easier to permit that way. And now it also helps us in terms of applying for grants. And what the county can do is they can say, all right, we want to get a 319 grant, which improves the ecosystem, and here's a collection of projects within that watershed that would support that. So when they came to us and other groups within these watersheds and they say, hey, if there's anything that you guys are ever considering doing that would benefit water quality within the watershed, we would like to be able to include that in the plan. And this is probably going to end up as a little appendix that's tucked somewhere in the back that says, hey, the Wheaton Park District has, asked for these projects. Now, does that obligate us to do them? Not at all. And the reason that I phrased it the way it was is there's a good possibility that, some or all of us may not be here when these projects come to fruition, potentially decades from now. So the only way that you guys are going to be able to approve any of these projects specifically is if we bring it to you in the form of the budget and, we approve the funds to move forward with it. Does that cover it?
So basically, you put every project you could think of that, and that's what we're doing.
Anything and
We're just getting
everything
them
that
all
would
in there
benefit.
so that if anything needs to get done, it's already out there.
That way, Rob.
Amending a watershed is a lot of work. So
Exactly.
we want to slide it in.
So I just wanted people to know they weren't approving all these projects, nor are any of them in our budget right now.
I think there are some good ideas in this document.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Rob, thanks for the work on that.
That way, Rob.
Appreciate it. All right. I'll open it up. Does anybody have any question on any of the staff reports? Otherwise, I'll open it up to board member comment.
Board member comments.
Ray?
I found actually, I guess it is a report, the aquatics facility report. Thank you very much for outlining exactly why we ended up losing $80,000 this past year. It was interesting to note that one of our commissioners asked for $12,000 in chairs to be bought, and that wasn't budgeted, so that contributed to the $80,000. But I thought it was a good report. Thank you.
Can I, as long as we're on that,
Came out of the emergency sitting fund.
that aquatics report, a question, I'm not sure who can answer it, but there was an entry in here that there was a decision to open the pool 30 minutes earlier, that would be Rice Pool, due to resident requests. And then by opening the pool 30 minutes earlier, wages increased $10,800. This amount is reflected in the $33,104 Rice Park wages, so on and so forth. So in any event, if there was an additional salary wage amount in that, is that worth our return on the investment?
The best thing to note too, though, is the overall part-time wage budget for the pool. We did still finish within budget. It just was an increase of the 33 based on the previous year in that net loss. But yes, definitely a return on the investment. That hour, we can track pool pass visits, daily admission visits on the hour, by the hour. And again, that was definitely in the top 3 attendances throughout the season. You get a lot of turnover from swim lessons where they're just coming, sticking around after swim lessons and opening the pool rather than going home and waiting 45 minutes to an hour to come back.
So it's still viable, Dan,
Absolutely.
to keep it
It was
open at
definitely
30?
a win.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Any other board member comment?
I got a few.
Harry?
Yeah, before you into comments, I just want to recognize a couple of recent events. With the staff holiday party, very well done, a lot of fun, well attended, I thought. And Rams football and cheerleading had its annual dinner recently. That was well attended. I want to once again recognize the Cosley Zoo for increasing revenues, continuing to increase those revenues. And then I thought that carnival ride gig for another revenue in the form of $6,400. I thought that was excellent. I noticed with Cosley that, we increased the number of programs as well as the participation, over 2013. For golf, I think we nailed it fairly well, where our rounds were up over 2013. I don't know that it will ever match 2012 unless Mother Nature is real nice to us, but it was good to see that we really came back through on our rounds. What do you got? There was Arrowhead won the Knott's Best of Weddings Award. Mike, what about that? Who can talk about that Knott's Best Wedding Award? Anybody? Anybody know about it? It's in here. Christina, do you know about it? It's here. Okay.
She knows about it.
What do we do for this?
The Knot.com is one of the most popular wedding sites, and it's based on reviews, as well as then obviously marketing and different things you do with the website. So it's a review website based on your positive reviews from brides and grooms.
It's the top 2%.
Is that a significant award?
Yeah.
Big deal.
It seemed to me to be one.
Fifth year in a row that we've won.
And there was an entry there that, that's a reference or a resource guide for people looking for weddings in the area?
For venues and different, wedding vendors.
Well, that can't hurt us. Cool. Thanks. And last but not least, to you, Margie, thank you for that report. It's, the follow-up reports are helpful, and that seasonal program guide and marketing avenue report, was helpful to me. You talked about the future, developing a budget for a Park District app. I mean, I think that's the way to go, these days. Keeping that page count guide low, and I think we reduce some costs by some consolidation, right? This collapsing the camps and aquatics guide, saving another $16,000 a year, I thought that was pretty significant. So thank you for that follow-up. That's all I got.
Anybody else?
I just have a question, Mike. So the power went out the other day at the community center. How long was that out, and what was the cause of that?
It was out for, Larry, 2.5 hours?
About an hour and a half.
Okay, an hour and a half. Turns out there was a motor in our elevator that went bad, and somehow, probably to save the building from having a larger issue, it tripped all the power off. So it was not a ComEd issue. Our electrician, Keith Runkle, and Paul Stancic and Larry were able to track it down and get it rectified. Our elevator is still down until tomorrow or the next day. Thank you, Paul. So, yeah, it was a widget broke and shut down a very large building. So that happens.
Anybody else?
Motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you very much.
A lot to sign, boss.
I do.
Let's have an exec session.